Hello there. I'm one of those nasty women, evidently, so I'm told. So I bought the .com. Not sure what all we're going to do with it yet, but this is turning into an interview show when my book, Call It Assault, my continuing efforts to survive childhood sexual grooming and assault, comes out very shortly. It's written and done, and it kind of blew up, and lots going on with that. But let's forget about that for the moment and say, what the hell, just for a minute. But I'm not gonna sit here and recount the news to you. We've all seen what's going on. We hear what's going on. If you're interested in the topic of American democracy and women and humans rights at all, you already know that. So I guess this is I need your emotional support group, an emotional support group, and we got to stop moping. Okay, we screwed up, and we screwed up not in ways of righteousness, but in ways of spin. What spin is a word that we use in the industry for making truth look the way you want it to look. Because truth can look blue or red or purple. Truth can be what you convince people it is, which is how you can buy an election. Just saying. When you flood the average person who does not follow the news closely and all of this really just kind of adheres to their party, then it's easy to buy an election. It's easy for someone with a whole lot of money to become the more or less not acting, what's the word? The shadow president. But he's not even doing it in the shadows, is he, Mr. Musk? So our musketeer has volunteered to save the world, but I don't think he's trying to save America. I don't even think he's trying to save the world with his electric cars and his let's get us to Mars. I think what Elon Musk is planning on doing, and him and his oligarch cronies all over the world, this is really just moving towards a global oligarchy. It's bigger than America. Looking at everything going on, it's becoming very obvious that slamming into all of these actions, boom, 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 one after the other, dismantling our government agencies at rapid fire, threatening persecution to the point that, my God, Jim Acosta left CNN after, I believe it's 17 years. Last year, he was the one that was not allowed in the press room. Well, guess what? Now, our White House press room is not allowing independent news agencies in. Not all of them. If you piss them off, you're out. AP, out. You're out. And they're letting in a whole lot of soft news, branded news, state news, people who will say whatever the hell you want. These reporters are going to come in and ask the questions now. So if you don't see it already, yes, we're in a constitutional crisis. Yes. Yes is the answer to the poll. So we all know that. What do we do about it? Well, personally, I got very depressed. I was raised a patriot. I took my kids to the Veterans Parade every year, made them cross their hearts every time a flag went by, and a lot of flags go by on Veterans Parades. I've taught my children of the sacrifice that 6 of their great uncles made for us to have this democracy. I've listened to the stories of my great uncles. I'm 60 years old. I've listened to my great uncles talk about going in on D-Day, parachuting in, fighting in trenches. It's just a shame that every other generation, every third generation, it seems like, forgets what's going on. One generation fights for our freedom and someone else's. And usually we fight for someone else's because it's going to affect us. And that's what you need to remember. Back to the top. Remember that everything we do and don't do in this world outside of America affects us. Like, oh, shocker. Canada decided to sell oil and exports to Japan, who desperately needs oil and natural gas, actually, always, because they don't have enough of it. They don't have their own resources. They've counted on us. So people think, oh, Trump's just so stupid. Look, oh, Canada calls him out. Oh, look, European Union and Japan are getting everything for zero tariffs, Ha ha, Trump. It's like, people, it's bigger than that. It's higher than that. It's part of the plan. Creating this instability and getting everybody pissed off, don't you see, is paving the way to send our troops anywhere he wants. He says he's sending them to Greenland. And if he sends them to Greenland, who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop him? Nobody. We can bitch about it all day long, but we can't stop him. So crawling into a hole isn't the answer either. Panama? Oh, yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to just go take this stuff. American aggression is something that we are despised for. When I've gone to other countries, I've seen, at the time Ronald Reagan was the president, I was arriving in Australia for 6 months. And we stayed at a kitchenette on the beach and walked down. They said, whatever you do, there's a rally against America tonight, because we had just bombed Libya, right? Don't go down there, our producers said. But of course, we walked down there, careful to say nothing but, "Oi, matey," because we didn't want to be busted. And I saw them burn the American flag and an effigy of Ronald Reagan. And I literally cried. I didn't even realize that I was that much of a patriot. I didn't realize how I felt about my country, how deeply I felt until then. I even wrote a little essay about it that I found recently that I wrote back then. I was 21 years old when that was going on. So we're going to take Panama. We're going to fight to make Canada the 51st state. We might invade them. Don't think this shit isn't going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it'll be a miracle. But the world order has changed. So what can we do personally? I'm not going to start giving up and giving in, but I am changing how I proceed in life. I know that there's not going to be universal health care anytime in the near future or decades for us. So I know now that I'm going to continue fighting for the have-nots in this world, but I have to become a have. Because if I don't carefully structure my life and my money and my investments so that I come out ahead in the economy we have now, then I'm not going to be able to work within it for change. So it's going to get even harder now. Pulling away, cutting back on Medicaid is going to be shocking to many people. I am on Medicare myself. It ought to be interesting to see what happens. It's not nearly enough for a person to live on. I can tell you that much. I don't have to live on it. And God, if I did, it would be impossible, at least outside of a box in a nice climate with a shopping cart that I stole from somebody. And that's no way to live as far as I'm concerned. So, you know what? I never have the chat on because I was just cutting my teeth at this. I wrote this book, the largest publicist in the world of self-help books. You've heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul series and Rich Dad, Poor Dad series and Kellyanne's Bone Broth Diet. That's the person that I've been working with, and why my already finished book is not out, because now it's going into foreign licensing and audio recording. Here, let's see. Maybe I can. Here's my other studio, right? I just put the chair on the end. And the other part of my studio, when I do my Thrive in Spades, 6 steps from triggered to happy, which I'm an NLP and a childhood sexual assault survivor. And this is my book in backwards because I don't have the camera. But this will be on the shelf soon. And with it is the workbook, Thrive in Spades. And this is the show that I teach. The workshop, always free, childhood sexual assault, complex post-traumatic stress syndrome coaching. And I do that live on Wednesdays, and it's always free because people who need help now, not later. So yeah, I've got a 3-in-1 office here and game room up there. See that behind the flag? That's my merchandising center, where I have tons of women's fair trade products. I had to close my sweet shopping group just this week, not even a week ago. I've been open steadily online selling women artisan entrepreneur products since 2017. And I had to shutter it because even though it's not in the news, there are laws now about origin and destination taxes. So my customers paid a 6.25% tax before because I was an Illinois resident. Now, because our warehouse is in Ohio, I have to pay an extra 4%, or my customers, all right, so someone's got to pay an extra 4%. That makes it 10.5% tax on our products, which is outrageous. And even if I did that just to break even and help our artists, which I would do, there's another addendum which says that every destination that we ship to, and that's the whole country, we have to personally file, it's not automated, and filing with every city that every product comes from. That's impossible. So I am rebuilding the business model. There is no sweet shopping group right now, but I do still own Sweet Shopping Group, Earth2.0.com, beesfetus.com, thosenastywomen.com, upriseinc.com, upriseincorporated.com, rubiesbridge. I have a lot of .coms. What I want to do is message me. If you're a like-minded person and you're an entrepreneurial-minded person, I don't care if you've done it before or not, but if you are a woman or other, sorry, but I'm trying to promote women and other men, give me a really good reason. We'll talk. But I want to give these .coms to those who are interested in using them and turning them into something. And what I want to do ultimately is create the Earth 2.0 shopping group of charitable shops. So I've got to figure this tax thing out, and I've got to have like a literal tax department that can file in every city. So as soon as I figure all that software out, we'll be back. So I didn't take it down. I just hid it all on the site. So Sweet Shopping Group, bye-bye. But those nasty women, you know what we're going to do? We're going to win the midterms. So I am jumping on board Bernie Sanders' initiative. I'm thirsty. And it's definitely not vodka and lemon juice because that would be too early in the day to do that. Bernie Sanders' initiative, AOC, I'm donating monthly in Citizens United. Do what you can with funding because funding does help. Where we have close races, when you get those emails that you delete that say, hey, the race is really close, we really need this money, as long as it's a reputable source, if you've got a $5, send it. Because as you saw, money bought the presidency this time. It wasn't common sense or reason. It wasn't an equal education, and no one's going to have that. No one's going to have the opportunity for a long time. Years. It'll take years to unravel this and come back, if we can even ever come back. So it relies on the midterms. I know I'm very disjointed because the whole thing in my mind is very disjointed. It's easy to roll on my program to help people, my SPADES program with childhood sexual assault. But here I'm like, there's a goddamn at every talking point that leads to another goddamn talking point. You know, we have rapists heading up defense departments. We have rapists actually on the Supreme Court. We have Clarence Thomas in the pocket of a billionaire. We have a billionaire bunch, the billionaire bunch. Got to work that one up in the White House. But all hope is not lost unless you quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Pretty soon I'm going to be having, as soon as my book comes out and I have the time, then I'm going to have guests. This is going to build slowly over the next 4 years. But guests are going to be coming on, and I got booked on over 70 podcast TV shows and a couple of print magazines, keep it all together, at the National Publicity Summit in October. And I am still working those out. Those are all like 6-month out things, the way that they book. And so press kits going out. It's an amazing time where, for me, despite losing the election, despite all of this, I bought thosenastywomen.com, which amazes me. Someone already tried to buy it from me for $11,000, and that was 2 years ago. And I'm like, no, not sure what we'll do, but we can use this. We can use this platform. We can use this forum going forward. And I'm open to suggestions, and I'm open to co-hosts. Also, those people who are childhood sexual survivors, or their partners or loved ones, or medical personnel, psychiatric personnel, educators, clergy, spiritual advisors, all of you, I'd like to talk to you. And there's an appointment calendar at Linda K. Gifford on Facebook in the appointment calendar. It's just a couple hours a day, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, that I've got appointments that I want to talk. It's free. I want to talk to you and hear how you feel about things. And either anonymously or by name, I will include as much of the information as seems appropriate and necessary in my coming book, Survivor Stories. So it's actually called Survivor Realities, and Stories is crossed out. Just like on Call It Assault, it says, my continuing efforts to survive childhood sexual abuse, crossed out assault. Because, and I want to end on that, how, I'm crossing shows here now, but when someone rapes someone and you keep calling it abuse instead of assault, then the legislative system does not hear assault. They do not hear severe punishment is necessary. They do not hear this is a perverted, depraved person who raped a child. It happened to me. I was groomed and assaulted for 7 years of my childhood. And that is how I started writing and got into all this. So it's very important to me that we support consent laws, of which there almost aren't any, that we support the creation of and standardization of consent laws, and that those of us who, like, if you're like me, if this happened to you, we need to explain to legislatures and the public what the nature of grooming is and why it is that statutes of limitations should be raised. Because the fact that I talked with the producer of 48 Hours and True Crimes, and he's very interested in doing a spot, because I was told you can't pitch this guy at the conference. They're like, you can say hi, but they only take people with solved crimes. You've got a whole history of stuff that they can go through, or unsolved, but there's all this legal jargon. So when it was my turn to talk with him, I said, this is last in October, I said, I regret that you can't do anything with me, because the problem is I am a victim of a crime, 100 crimes, or the same crime hundreds of times, and I can't sue my perpetrator. My perpetrator, although he has cancer now, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for him, boo-hoo, he's walking around. He lived a successful life. My own nieces and nephews don't have anything to do with me, because I'm talking about what he did to me. But he got to go on and have that life and be a businessman and take a young adult, very young compared to him, to his own daughter's high school graduation. I was there. Everyone knows. People from my hometown have said, oh, they've messaged me personally. Yeah, we totally believe you. Women, because that's the dude. That's this dude. And so many dudes. He's not just a monster. That's what we teach men. We teach them that women are commodities. We dress our children and let them dress in clothes that we know men are going to look at them and want to put their schlong up their ass. So why don't you stand up for your own children? Why don't you be the parent? Why don't you be the parent? That's what I'm asking of you. Just because Susie down the street student, that is no reason for your child to get away. Not get away. I'm going to say that. They're not getting away with anything. You're setting your children up for potential abuse. For potential abuse. Every time you don't parent them, every time you let the language of society guide them towards children, sexuality are intertwined. The clothes they wear, the jokes, the 4,000+% increase in pornography in the last 4 years. So I talk a lot more about that and about personal healing in the SPADES program, which is Wednesdays at 3. And if you are a childhood sexual assault survivor or someone who is a partner, loved one, support personnel, medical, psychiatric, clergy, like I said before, you are welcome to attend the Zoom group meeting at 4 o'clock afterwards. That's going to start as soon as I have enough people to do it. So there's about 5 of us now. I want to get that up to about 10 people, and then we'll start the Zoom. And it'll be at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays after the 3 o'clock live stream. So don't give up. You can't. This is your life. This is your children's lives. They may have won the battle, but they didn't win the war. Decency always wins in the end. If the democracy falls, it falls. They all do, don't they? Well, I have a vested interest. I have children, potential grandchildren down the road. I also live here, plan to stay alive a lot longer. I have a vested interest in restoring human rights and democratic rule by law and our elected officials, instead of one little group that comes in and ignores the elected officials who turn them into patsies for them. Don't be a patsy. All right. I will talk to you next Wednesday, if not sooner, about little thises and that's. But hey, in a world of crazy, don't be. I gotta write that down. I like that. Gotta have a gimmick.